Welcome back, Verastructor. I'm really excited for this new format of conversational style. Verastructor, I've been thinking a lot about how we humans, unlike all the living beings on this planet, we objectify things, or we create objectivity to things that do not exist. And you gave a great example of this in your last video, which if you haven't seen is fantastic, by the way. So Verastructor, if you haven't seen the last video, our obsession with identity that Jess made, go give it a look, because she talked about how even the word identity itself is limiting and creates an objectivity that does not exist. We are infinite beings after all, and there's infinite performances that we could do based off of that infinity. So to call it an identity, or to even refer to it as an identity, is in itself limiting and objectifying something that doesn't need to be objectified, that deserves to be free-floating. But what I'm confused about these days is less when we ground something that deserves to be free-floating, like identity, like our infinite selves. I've become more and more interested in this idea of how we objectify things that don't exist at all. It's not that we can't see them, because we see them. That's what makes it complicated. Great example is darkness. Darkness straight up doesn't exist. It's something that we have objectified, we've named it, we've put a label upon it, and boom, all of a sudden it's there, when it's not a thing. Even now in this video, you can see play of light. You can give the illusion of darkness, like in between my hands right here. You can give the illusion of darkness, but that's just the absence of light. Light is the object. Light is the thing that's acting in that scenario, not darkness. Darkness is not a thing. It's just the absence of light. And to some degree, you can't get away from light at all. You go, oh, at nighttime, there's the light of the stars, there's the light of the moon. What if there's clouds over it? It's like there's still light radiating. And even if you were in a cave underneath the ground at nighttime with cloud cover, everything, there's still small bits of light still reflecting in that space. Our eyes are just not built to see it. But that doesn't mean there isn't light constantly, that there's always light, and darkness straight up doesn't exist. Light is always there, and darkness is just very, very little light. Another example is life, which we mistakenly say, oh, when there's no life, there's death. Death isn't a thing either. Life continues on, and anyone who says differently hasn't truly understood what it means to die, what it means to see something die, because it loses something, or rather in this plane of existence, it seems to lose something that was integral to itself. Well, where does that stuff go? The laws of nature would say that it can't disappear forever. It must continue in some form. We can get into the spiritual, and Verastruct is very much interested in the spiritual as well. But what I want to focus on, and what I'm so fascinated about, is why do we have this word death? Why do we have this word darkness? Why do we have the word sickness? It implies that we're bad all over, when in actuality, sickness is almost always just a perfect body having one small imperfection, and letting that imperfection kind of take over. That imperfection is pretty difficult to shake. So health is a thing. Sickness is just the absence of health. Darkness is just the absence of light. This is how we play this game of life and death as humans. And why, particularly in this day and age, we can have this belief that we're interested in life, and we're interested in creativity and vibrancy, when in actuality we're interested in death, because life never goes away. Light never goes away, and to some degree these things are all interconnected. My point here is that we need to be aware of the fact that as humans we have this tendency to make living things dead, to see them for the wrong perspective entirely. Light is never gone, life is never gone, and yet we have words for when those things don't exist so much that you can point it out. And so we've wired our brains to think that way. And I don't mean to say that this is a cultural phenomenon. I think you take any human at any point in time, and we're really good at that. We're really good at finding the absence of the thing and objectifying it and saying that's bad. Darkness is bad, death is bad. Instead of doing the more obvious choice, which is it's still a reflection of the positive. It still references the positive thing. Darkness still references light, even though we like for it to not. Death references life, even though we'd like to think it's a completely separate thing. You can't separate the two, except for in a human brain. For some reason, you can separate the two. And they're not two, they're one. It's just light and a spectrum of light, and there's just life and a spectrum of life. And to some degree, there's not even a spectrum, there's just life and light. And humans' ability to ignore reality. You are a deep fountain of unique identity, Verastructor. Have a lovely week.